Most people assume late summer means the gardening season is basically over. The heat peaks, flowers start fatting, and spring feels far away. It sounds logical, but surprisingly, August is actually the ultimate cheat code for lazy gardeners. Late summer soil holds maximum warmth, root development explodes underground, autumn rain handles your watering schedule, and in some cases you will get lush, permanent blooms next season without ever touching a trowel again. Before we dive into the countdown, please do me a huge favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video with a friend who hates yard work, and comment below with the exact city you are watching from right now. I read every single comment to see where our community is growing. That's because late summer perennial planting gives lazy gardeners something conventional spring planting often cannot: momentum. Warm soil profiles, cooler night air, minimal weed competition, and the ability to lock in bulletproof root systems before the winter freeze arrives. In today's video, we're counting down 9 tough-as-nails perennials that thrive forever once planted in August. And stay until the end, because the final plant on this list is a legendary purple bloom that survives -30-degree winters and completely repels deer on pure autopilot. Let's get started. At number 9, we have Hostas. Most people picture Hostas as delicate shade leaves requiring constant babying. But surprisingly, August root divisions produce thicker, fuller foliage clumps next year than spring-installed pots ever could. Here's why. Spring planting is rarely perfect. It contains sudden frost snaps, saturated soggy dirt, and sluggish root expansion that force bare root crowns to rot underground. Late summer planting solves that problem immediately. Warm August soil triggers immediate cellular expansion before winter dormancy. The result is rapid deep bed anchoring. Another huge advantage is zero maintenance. Dense leafy canopies shade out weeds completely within a single season. That's why busy growers adore them. Busy gardeners also appreciate their extreme shade tolerance. They transform dark, neglected fence lines without supplemental lighting. You get vibrant, effortless ground cover. Even better, they divide infinitely every few years. One single purchase easily multiplies across your entire perimeter over time. It's one more example of how late-season planting provides long-term density that rushed spring planting often can't match. Sometimes the secret to a lush shade bed isn't endless weeding. It's planting massive canopy leaves when soil temperatures peak. Moving down to number 8, we have Black-Eyed Susans. Most people picture Black-Eyed Susans as fragile annuals you must rebuy each year. But surprisingly, establishing perennial Rudbeckia crowns in August produces twice as many golden blooms than early season seeds ever could. Here's why. Spring seeding is rarely perfect. It contains unexpected cold spikes, aggressive weed choke, and washed-out surface topsoil that force delicate seedlings to fail before establishing. August installation solves that problem immediately. Pre-warmed beds let thick taproots dig straight down past the future frost line. The result is instant drought resistance by next June. Another huge advantage is pollinator power. Thick daisy petals feed native bees well into October. That's one reason your yard stays lively with zero extra effort. Busy homeowners also love their self-seeding habits. Dropped seeds naturally regenerate thick drifts year after year. You get permanent color for free. Sometimes the secret to unbroken sunshine color isn't continuous fertilizer. It's letting August heat establish rock-solid taproots. Coming in at number 7, we have Coneflowers. Most people picture coneflowers struggling through blistering midsummer droughts. But surprisingly, an August root drop produces stronger fibrous anchors than high-maintenance potted spring starts ever could. Here's why. Conventional early planting is rarely perfect. It contains erratic rainfall, soft root rot, and sudden dry heat waves that force shallow roots to collapse. August bedding solves that problem immediately. The natural cooling atmospheric curve eases moisture stress while the subsoil remains bathwater warm. The result is deep, unbreakable root reserves. Another huge advantage is extreme clay tolerance. Rigid fibrous roots slice right through compacted, low-nutrient soils. That's why lazy gardeners with terrible dirt rely on them. Busy plant lovers also appreciate their architectural winter seed heads. Goldfinches feast on the dried cones all winter without you buying birdseed. You get natural wildlife activity without extra chores. Sometimes the secret to vibrant summer blooms isn't pampered potting soil. It's letting tough roots harden during late-season transitions. At number 6, we have Sedum Autumn Joy. Most people picture succulents strictly as indoor desk novelties. But surprisingly, tucking hardy sedum into late summer beds produces sturdier, indestructible stalks than spring transplants ever could. Here's why. Spring soil is rarely perfect. It contains excess standing moisture, chilly mud, and fungal pathogens that force thick succulent stems to decay rapidly. Planting in dry August earth solves that problem immediately. The plant uses stored moisture reserves to branch outward immediately. The result is thick, drought-proof structural foliage. Another huge advantage is changing color. Green broccoli-like buds shift to dusty pink and rich rust bronze through frost. That's why autumn landscapes pop with zero upkeep. Busy growers also love their low water demands. Fleshy leaves store natural hydration for weeks without irrigation. You get resilient garden color even during water restrictions. Sometimes the secret to indestructible garden borders isn't daily hose duty. It's choosing water-storing perennials designed for late summer planting. Moving down to number 5, we have daylilies. Most people picture daylilies as fussy show flowers that demand constant pruning. But surprisingly, dropping tuberous fans in August produces heavier flowering clusters than spring divisions ever could. Here's why. Spring fan division is rarely perfect. It contains weak early energy, muddy root environments, and insect invasions that force rhizomes to abort early bloom buds. August planting solves that problem immediately. The plant channels all remaining solar energy straight into underground tuber storage. The result is explosive multistem flowering early next summer. Another huge advantage is slope stabilization. Interlocking tuber webs physically pin loose dirt to prevent erosion. That's why difficult hillsides become completely hands-free. Busy yard owners also appreciate their total pest immunity. Critters, pests, and common fungal leaf spots leave them completely alone. You get spotless greenery without toxic chemical sprays. Sometimes the secret to hillside curb appeal isn't building retaining walls. It's locking in resilient tubers during late summer warmth. At number 4, we have yarrow. Most people picture yarrow as an unruly roadside weed. But surprisingly, deliberate August placement produces neat, long-lasting color mats far better than early spring plantings ever could. Here's why. Typical spring conditions are rarely perfect. Overly wet soil, rich fertilizers, and weak sunlight force stems to grow floppy, leggy, and weak. August ground solves that problem immediately. Lean late-season soils trigger compact, tough, fibrous growth. The result is sturdy, upright flower heads that shrug off driving wind and rain. Another huge advantage is poor soil thriving. It genuinely prefers sandy, gravelly, dry ground over nutrient-dense compost. That's why zero-fertilizer setups look extraordinary. Busy gardeners also love its natural insect-repelling foliage. Aromatic ferny foliage deters garden pests naturally. You get built-in bug defense across nearby plantings. Sometimes the secret to dense ground coverage isn't babying your beds with compost. It's letting rugged herbs settle in warm late-season earth. Breaking into the top 3, let's talk about bleeding heart. Most people picture bleeding hearts exclusively as early spring purchases that quickly melt away in summer. But surprisingly, setting dormant bare root rhizomes into warm August soil produces massive, arching heart blooms far earlier than spring containers ever could. Here's why. Spring container nursery stock is rarely perfect. It contains pot-bound roots, fertilizer shocks, and sudden temperature swings that force active blooms to drop and wither. August root burial solves that problem immediately. The rhizome establishes deep microroots while safely dormant under cooling autumn mulch. The result is effortless, vigorous early spring emergence before weeds even sprout. Another huge advantage is true perennial longevity. Once tucked into deep shade, the crown returns reliably for decades. That's why generational gardens keep them around forever. Busy shade gardeners also love its zero-pruning lifestyle. The foliage dies back naturally by midsummer without any required deadheading. You get pure romantic spring architecture with zero cleanup tasks. Sometimes the secret to jaw-dropping spring elegance isn't rushing to the garden center in April. It's quietly burying dormant roots in August. Moving down to number 2, we have peonies. Most people picture peonies as temperamental, fragile shrubs that fail if you disturb them. But surprisingly, August and early autumn bare root planting produces vastly stronger, 100-year bloom crowns than springtime container planting ever could. Here's why. Spring potted stock is rarely perfect. It contains root-bound coils, tender active shoots, and transplant shock that force immature buds to blind and fail for years. August bare root installation solves that problem immediately. Uncurled root eyes settle naturally at the precise soil depth required before winter dormancy. The result is reliable, heavy double blooms straight out of the gate. Another huge advantage is near immortality. A single well-placed crown outlives the person who planted it, often thriving for 50 to 100 years. That's why it is the ultimate lazy investment. Busy homeowners also appreciate their natural deer and rabbit resistance. Woody, bitter stems keep hungry wildlife moving right past your borders. You get massive fragrant cuts without protective fencing. Sometimes the secret to century-long garden performance isn't complicated pruning schedules. It's planting root eyes during their natural late summer rest cycle. And finally, taking the crown at number 1, Russian sage. If there is one indestructible perennial that truly seems designed for August planting, this is it. Most people picture Russian sage as a delicate, high-maintenance lavender lookalike. But surprisingly, putting down woody root crowns during August heat waves produces vastly more drought-proof, aromatic purple clouds than delicate spring plantings ever could. Here's why. Spring planting environments are rarely perfect. They contain cold, waterlogged clay, fungal dampening, and weak sunlight that force aromatic Mediterranean stems to turn black and rot. August heat solves that problem immediately. Deep taproots quickly lock into hot, dry soil beds, while the plant basks in abundant sunshine. The result is a rock-solid, fragrant fortress that laughs at 90-degree droughts. Another huge advantage is total wildlife immunity. The pungent, aromatic oils in the silvery foliage make it completely unpalatable to deer, rabbits, and destructive insects. That's one reason why highway medians and lazy gardeners rely on it across the world. Busy growers also love the relentless bloom window. It throws lavender blue clouds continuously from midsummer through hard autumn frosts without a single round of deadheading. You get continuous color without touching a single tool. Even better, it shrugs off extreme freeze cycles. It handles -30-degree winters effortlessly, shooting up fresh woody stems the moment spring returns. It's one more example of how August installation provides effortless hardiness that springtime planting often can't match. It's the perfect example of how working with nature's late-season rhythm doesn't limit garden success. Sometimes, August planting actually unlocks it. The biggest mistake many gardeners make is assuming endless springtime digging automatically produces the best garden. But sometimes, planting simple root systems in warm August soil creates far better conditions. Effortless root growth, natural autumn rain, zero weed competition, total drought resistance, and far more permanent garden power. That's why so many tough perennials actually thrive in late summer plantings. You don't need exhausting daily maintenance to grow an impressive, colorful yard. Sometimes, simple timing adjustments can outperform months of hard labor. And once you experience how effortless August planting can become, you'll start seeing end-of-summer garden beds in a completely different way. Because successful gardening isn't always about having more free time or working harder. Sometimes, it's simply about using the Earth's natural seasonal cycles more intelligently.